Welcome to the Landscaping Podcast. My name is Joel Barnett and I'm your host. And in today's episode, I'm talking with Rich Wigley of Bluesky Landscaping. So Rich is he's in Sydney at the moment, but moving to the Central Coast of New South Wales next year. And he does landscape design and construction, just a small crew with himself and another fella. So it was good talking about that in terms of some of the other companies we've had on being a bit bigger, whereas he mentions in this chat. And then he'll go to he'll get an inquiry and they'll ask if he can send out the estimator. And he says, well, that's me, I'm the estimator. And then who does the designs? Well, I do the designs. And what about the project manager? Yeah, that's me as well. So there's some good little tips along the way as well from Rich throughout this chat. And at the end of it, there's kind of two endings because I was about to wrap it up. But then after our chat finished, officially for the podcast, we kept chatting and there was some really good value in there. So I've put some of that in at the end of the episode as well. So there's two little ends to this podcast. So hopefully you enjoy this chat with Rich Wigley. Rich, thank you very much for joining us on the Landscaping Podcast. The first question I've got for you is how it all started for you and how you started in the industry.
Yeah, mate. Thanks for having me, firstly. So yeah, look, I'm originally from the UK. I moved over here, I think it was 8 or 9 years ago now. And I'd done bits and bobs like over in the UK and just realised it was just not for me when I lived there. And when I moved over here, I was sort of looking for a job and I ended up getting the job just doing garden maintenance. I was over in WA. So I lived in WA for a couple of years there, doing bits and bobs, garden maintenance. And then, I wanted to pick up the construction work again. And sort of start doing that a bit more, and basically went from that into the construction stuff. And that's pretty much it, mate, to be honest. I worked for a whole bunch of different people for, I don't often get asked these questions, so I don't even know how long. Yeah, look, I worked for a whole bunch of different people for probably like maybe 5 or 6 years. Mostly like small companies. I've done like a few commercial landscaping roles, and like I quickly knew that wasn't for me. Like I went in and doing the same thing over and over and over. I'd done it for a few months and I was like, yeah, nah, like I don't want to do that. So I've always stuck to like the residential small companies, like 3 to 5 guys. It's a bit more personal, like the owner and all of those types of things. So I guess as like an employee, you don't feel as much of like just as a number. Do you know what I mean? You feel like you're part of something bigger. So yeah, that was pretty much it. Like I've been doing this for probably 9 years or so now. Out of those 9 years, I've been running my own business for 4.5. So I've sort of split the time in half working for myself. And yeah, that's pretty much it, to be honest. Like I'd always had a bit of an interest in like the outdoors. That's probably the main thing for me. Like I was always interested in being outside and being within nature and stuff like that. And I've done the standard cliche stuff, like used to go out with my mum in the yard and like plant tomatoes and all of that type of stuff. But I never ever was like I dreamed to be a landscaper. Do you know what I mean? Like it was never a thing for me. And then after getting into it, I was like, you know what, I actually quite like this. And I had tried a few other like construction roles. I was just like, oh, I might try this, I might try that. And I didn't like the versatility of those other jobs, like, doing carpentry work, you just cut in timber most of the time. You're not working with different textures and different materials and all of those types of things. So yeah, I mean, that was really it. Like I sort of, once I got into it and started working with different products and stuff like that, that was where I actually sort of started to build a passion for it because of the wide range of it. Do you know what I mean? And as you know, like the industry is so vast. You can do so many things. Like, I mean, how often does like somebody say to you, or you say to someone, you meet them, a family thing or something, or a pub or whatever, and you're like, oh, I'm a landscaper, and they just say, oh, you mow lawns then. Do you know what I mean? Like, how often do you get it? Do you know what I mean? And it's like you can mow lawns, but like as you know, you're doing concreting, you're doing decking, you're doing all of those things, and it's so broad that I think that's what I like about it, is that there's so many different things that you can do. I mean, because I'm still heavily on the tools. Do you know what I mean? Like that's what I love that. Because I've only got a couple of blokes that work for me. Like I'm not a big timer at all. And that's the way I like it. Do you know what I mean? Like I still like it like that. I'm still young, so maybe.
How old are you?
I'm 27, so I'm 28 next year, start of next year. So I'm pretty much 28. I don't think I look it. I'll probably look older. That's what most people say to me. But yeah, but yeah, you know, like I think as I get a bit older, I might want to sort of pull away from being on the tools so much and go into more of the management side. But like for me now, like I love building stuff. Do you know what I mean? That's just what I like to do. So yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. I guess I've bloody told you everything now. I know.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. We'll wrap it up there.
Well, done.
Yeah. So when you say construction, when you started off doing maintenance, and then you said you did a bit of construction as well. Was that landscape construction? Or?
Yeah, so I basically went straight into the landscape construction, and like I had previous knowledge from, you know, doing bits and bobs over in the UK, and like just knowledge of like paving and brickwork and stuff like that. And like because in the UK it's primarily you do a lot of like paving, like brick paving, not like those stereotypical English style gardens. That's a lot of red brick paving, a lot of brick walls and stuff like that. But it's not like over here where you go and you learn all of those things. So I did go straight from the maintenance into the landscape construction, and I'd done that for about 2 years, and then I actually thought to myself, like, I'm not sure if I want to continue down this path. Like I might go and actually be a chippy. That's what I was considering doing. And then I thought, I'll give it a go. Like I'll go and get a bit of chippy work. Like I'll see how that goes. And I remember doing it for about a week or two, and it was just like helping out. Like I was pretty much labouring for blokes, you know, just as like helping them out framing houses and stuff. And you know, it's just not what I wanted to do. It's just repetition, and you know, it was pretty boring. It was like the same stuff over again. You measure, you cut, and you just gun it in. And then I thought, okay, maybe I'll try a bit of different carpentry work. So I'd done a bit of deck building, much the same, you know, cutting timber, gunning it in. It's all pretty much the same. Do you know what I mean? And that was when I sort of said to myself, like, I'm actually going to go back into the construction and landscaping, because I do enjoy working with stone. I love working with timber, but I love working with stone, and I like working with plants. So it pulls all of those things together. So that was when I sort of went really hard down the route, because I thought, well, like I've got to transfer my qualifications over to get a license and stuff over here. So I actually had to go back to TAFE. So like I live in Sydney now. I'm actually moving up the Central Coast at the end of the year, but I had to go back to TAFE to update all of my qualifications to get my, you know, my trade license. So like that was really good for me, because I went back to TAFE, and it's a lot different over here to what it is in the UK. As I said, like you do everything. Do you know what I mean? Like you learn how to build decks, you learn how to build a pergola, and you learn how to lay bricks, you learn how to lay blocks, you learn how to pour footings, like you learn how to put plants in the ground, like all of those things. You learn the science behind it. Like it's like all of those trades just composed into one. And I like that, like because I like the knowledge and stuff. So like I had the practical experience, but it was just the Australian standard knowledge and all of that type of stuff that comes with it, that you only learn by really going in and someone, you know, reading it out of a book, don't you? So, you know, like, yeah, that was sort of it for me. Like I just set my eye on it, and I thought, yeah, let's just go for it, after I'd done that course. And that was it.
What course was that? Was it a certificate 3 or?
Yeah, so that was the landscape cert 3. It was, yeah. So I actually done like a fast track because of my experience and stuff, and then like my previous stuff. I think I've got a couple of units, and then they said, look, like you don't really know many Australian standards and stuff off the top of your head, so you're actually going to have to do this and this again. So there's probably like 10 of us or 12 of us, and it was like a fast track practical style course. It was actually at Ride TAFE here. And that was awesome, like, because a lot of it was practical. Like I wasn't really into school much, you know. I like messing around and having a laugh with my mates and stuff like that. And then when you actually do the practical element, like that's what sort of kept me interested and kept me there. Like the book stuff, I think like the book stuff for me is quite easy, like especially with the Cert 3, you're basically like lifting the information from one place and then putting it down in another place. Do you know what I mean? Like it's not, in terms of you know, like passing the quizzes and stuff that you have to do, like it's pretty easy to do. But at the end of the day, you still got to be able to lay a brick, or do you know what I mean? You still have to be able to build something. So they really focused on that practical side, which is what I really loved that.
So when you were working for other guys, how did you go about, like when did you decide that you wanted to work for yourself?
So the last job I had, I got offered a project management role through a company, and I think they had about 10 guys working for them, and I was basically managing a couple of sites. And I started doing that, and very quickly I'd realized like it's a balancing act. You know, you're dealing with an owner who wants profit, and then you're dealing with a client who wants a product, and you know, you're not really winning. The client's coming at you, giving you problems, and then the owner's coming at you saying, well, you need to make more money. And then like I couldn't cope with that. I didn't like it. And I then said to the owner, I was like, look, I just want to go back on the tools. Like, I don't want to do it. And then I'd done that for a while, working for him for a few more months. And then I actually thought to myself, like, I could probably, like, I can do this myself. I could probably do this better than what we're doing it now. Just with a couple of blokes, like I just felt like I could do it better. And then I left there, and like there were a few signs and stuff coming through, but I just like, there were a few things coming in that I was like, oh, that's a bit of a sign for me to go and just give it a crack. But I kept putting it on.
What sort of signs were they?
So just like little things, like things would pop up on my phone, would be like, you know, advertisement or like logo design and stuff like that. And like I remember talking to my partner Emily, and she was like, oh, you know, you should just try it, like just see what happens. And I was like, oh, nah, like I don't want to give it a go. Like I'm a bit nervous and I'm a bit scared. And then I just started doing like a few cashies on the weekend. And sort of at this point, you know, I applied for all my licenses and stuff like that. So I was sort of priming myself for it. And I thought, look, I think if we're going to go for it, we'll just go for it. And I had a few cashies and stuff on the weekend. And then I remember I got a call from a lady, because I used to just hand leaflets out. Like that's what I'd done. That's how I started my business. And I used to come home from work and I'd go hand leaflets out for half an hour. And I had a call from a lady, and, you know, she was like, yeah, we'd like to get you in to have a look at this job. So I went and had a look at it, and it was 2 minutes from the house. And I thought, oh, Jesus, 2 minutes. And then, you know, I sat down and I worked the figures out, and I thought, if I go and do that job, it would take me 2 weeks and I'll make the same money as what I would if I'd worked for 6 weeks. So I thought to myself, like, well, if I go and like, even if I do this job for 2 weeks and I don't find another job for 4 weeks, like I would have made the same money. So that was the sort of attitude, that was the attitude I took. And then I thought, well, how many leaflets can I hand out in 4 weeks if I'm not working? So I thought there's going to be some sort of give, like there has to be. And so I remember it was the last job for that company actually. And I fell out with the owner essentially, and he asked me to leave. That's as simple as that. And I'd never really held a job down prior to that. Like I'd only really worked for people for 6 months, and that never scared anyone away because I knew what I was talking about. So people would always employ me, but I just had a problem with holding down a job. Like it was as simple as that. And, you know, like I went through all the emotions of thinking it was me and all of those things. And I just thought, nah, like I just tell people how it is. Like, that's just what I do. Like, and it's just who I am. So I can't change who I am. And so like I made the jump, and yeah, it just kept rolling. You know, I'd done that job, and then a lady 2 doors down.
Did you make the planned money on it?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
I never not make the planned money.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I always well. I've had a couple very close ones. But yeah, now I made really good money on it. And then 3 or 4 doors down, the lady then asked me to do her job, and I was like, oh, okay, sweet. Like I actually remember saying to her, I was like, oh look, I'm really busy, so I'll come in a week or two, because I wanted a week off. So I had a week off, and then I went back in and I'd done the job for her, and she was absolutely stoked. And from then on, I just picked up bits and bobs here and there. And I think, so I had about, I'd done those 2 jobs. There was sort of maybe a month to 6 weeks worth of work. And it was me, and I got a labourer in. I just contracted a labourer. And, I'd done all the jobs, and they were pretty basic. They were sort of like site leveling, like new garden edging, like a timber screen, and I think like a Versa block wall or something like that. And I'd done that and completed those jobs, and then I was sort of out of work for about 3 or 4 weeks. And one of the guys I went to TAFE with, he already had a business, and he said, "Do you want to come and just work for me for a few weeks?" And so I said, "Yeah, look, I'll come over." And he's on the beaches, so it's a bit of a drive for me, because I'm based in the inner west. And I worked for him for 3 or 4 weeks, and then I picked up another big job, like a big decking job. And then pretty much from then on, like I've always just had my own jobs. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just, I guess it just happens. It's just funny, isn't it? Like they just come around, and they come at the right time. And like, because like my old man, he's an upholsterer in the UK, and he's worked for himself most of his life. And I remember saying to him, I was like, "How do you win jobs?" He's like, "Well, some jobs will come through and you'll be too busy, and they might be way better than all the jobs that you're doing now, but you've already made the commitment." So he's like, there's all of these things that just play into effect, that are just like timing and luck. And you know what it's like, like a job will fall through. And I remember my first couple of years, I'll be like, geez, like I've got no work for 2 weeks. And then all of a sudden somebody will call you up and say, "Can you come and have a look?" And you go out and you do the job. Do you know what I mean? Like they just all fall into place, and they seemingly do. Like now, like I'm well established enough that I can send off a couple of text messages and fill the gaps pretty quickly. But as you know, like I don't know, it just happens, doesn't it?
So you don't do any advertising. The only stuff you've done is the leaflet drops in the early days?
Pretty much, yeah. So the leaflet drops were in the early days. That was just because I didn't have any capital. So I was just like, well, I think I spent $500 on leaflets. I bought a ute. I spent $500 on leaflets, probably maybe $3,000 on tools or something like that. Like I went and bought an old Hilux, and had that, and then just done the leaflet drops and stuff. And then I was going to try and get into like the business networking. That's what I really wanted to do. But like I felt like I was always too busy. Like I couldn't get there because it's like 12 o'clock in the middle of the day. And obviously because I'm there building it, like I can't just I can't just break away and go over there, because then the job doesn't get done. I don't get paid. So it was always sort of like, well, I'll do I'll do bits and bobs here and there. And then, since doing the leaflet drops, like I haven't done leaflet drops, I don't know, for years. Like I haven't done it since the first 6 months. So it's all word of mouth. But like I've actually been pretty successful on social media advertisement recently. Like I was really surprised. Like I done, like, because I do the designs and then I'll build them. That's sort of what I do. And like I developed like a 2D concept for a client, and she asked me for 3Ds, and I said, oh, okay, like I can put them together for you. Now, like I put the 3Ds together on SketchUp, and she's like, I can't get like a visual, like a good visual of it. Like, is there any way that you can put the textures and stuff on there? And I was like, I can't, like I don't know how to. So I found a guy from out of house, and he sort of said like, look, I use a program called Lumion, and he showed me some of his work, and I was like, that's sick. Like, let's do that. So I paid for that out of my own pocket, because I was like, that just looks awesome. Like, I don't even, like, it just looks cool. Like, and it's a good avenue that you could go down. And so I basically presented that to the client, and she just loved it. And like, I posted that up on social media, and I reckon like I posted it up on social media. I think I put like $50 in or something like that, like on the Instagram. and I got seven design jobs out of it, and it just went like nuts. And so I was like, geez, so like, and that was probably maybe a year ago now, or 8 months ago. And so it just went like crazy. And like I was doing these meetings and stuff like that, going to meet the client. And then like I put together all the 2Ds and then, you know, give like a material finish and stuff like that. And they're only based on concepts. Like I try to avoid, you know, going down, going through councils and stuff like that, because most clients don't want to do it anyway. So we normally design it so that the build is exempt pretty much. So like the concept design is what I'll supply the client, and then I've got a guy who does the 3Ds, which is a lot of the ones you see on the Instagram, and present that to the client, and they sort of love it. So that's just, yeah, that's the only advertisement I've really ever done. So yeah, like, I don't know, you can't, most people say word of mouth is the best, you know, and I think it is. It's quite hard in the city, because like I've just started to promote up the Central Coast, because that's where I'm moving, so that's where the business is moving, and it's easy to get word of mouth up there, because like I've gone to 2 or 3 quotes up there and everybody knows everyone, and like I've quoted a job from a guy across the road. It'd be similar down in Geelong, like it's a small area and everybody knows everyone, and like I grew up in a small town in the UK, but I think word of mouth in the city is like, I don't know, I don't know, like I think it works, but everybody's so time poor and everybody wants it done yesterday that I don't really even know if word of mouth is like, it's good, but I think advertisement budgets are like, you just pump it in the city. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I reckon it would depend on the size of your business as well, because what we do, like as in landscapers, our jobs take such a long time that, yeah, you can have a few jobs a year and that takes you out for quite a few months. Whereas if you were a bigger company, then you need to spend more money on advertising, because you've got to pump through, because you've got to keep so many people busy. So I reckon word of mouth is ideal for everyone, but especially for the smaller companies, because you can just use that. You don't need to spend anything on advertising.
Yeah, that's it.
I was going to ask you about your designs, because I did see them on your Instagram and they look absolutely amazing. So whereabouts did you learn design to start with, let alone the 2 and 3D?
So, so I actually done the landscape design diploma. That was through TAFE. I've done it online. So I went back to TAFE to do the construction, I think 4 years ago, maybe 5, I'm not sure. It was just when I wanted to start a business, and I thought I have to do it to get a license number, because they wouldn't let me get it, so I had to do that. And I think I started that halfway through. I thought to myself, like, well, you know, it's a good thing to learn, because like I initially thought, it's a good thing to learn because you know, you can understand both sides of the coin, like, because like, as you know, like sometimes you get given plans and you're just like, what, this is just silly, like it just is stupid. Like, you know, you look at it and you're like, that just is ridiculous. And so I thought, like, I wonder why they are like that. Like, I was curious, so I thought, like, it'd be good to learn that as well. And like I went, so anyway, I'll answer your question. I won't blab on. Sorry, I've gone on tangents, but like I went and done it at TAFE, and I'd studied it online just sort of in my spare time. And that was really it. Like, I thought I'll do that, and then once I've done that, I'll be able to start putting together drawings and stuff for people. But I didn't use it for a good couple of years. Like, I'd used it to present stuff to clients, and like a lot of the time, you know, people would say, oh, can you just draw it because it's easier? So that was sort of something that made me want to go and do it, because I was doing drawings for people. And then, you know, you were saying, here we go, we'll build this. And they're like, yeah, okay, that's fine. So that was what really made me want to do it. And then by doing that course, I learned, you know, like I learned how to use the 2D programs, and I learned how to do basic 3D works. And I quite enjoyed that. Like, I quite enjoyed building it, like, from a visual perspective, and it's heaps easier than actually building it in real life. So you can actually build something and it looks quite cool, like quite quickly on the programs. And yeah, I'd done that. And then, as I say, after a couple of years, I did it for pretty much nothing. And then I just thought to myself one day, I was like, I can't do this for nothing. Like, it's costing me too much time. And I remember saying to a client, they said to me, "Can you draw it?" And I was like, "I'll just charge you for it." And they said yes. So I was like, "Oh, sweet! Like that's another avenue that you could capitalize on, you know." So I guess from there, like I've sort of it's become a thing. Like I've gone into this, I don't know, like sort of area of what I want to do is like I want to actually draw it. So I'll turn up and they'll be like, design it, and then I want to build it as well. So like, because what I found like a lot of the time was, you know, like designers get a lot of credit, and rightfully so, because there's a lot of brain work that goes into it. Like there is like, you know, some people, like normal people, like civilians, they just look at it and they say, oh, well, that plant looks nice there. But when you design it, the plant's put there for a reason because of all the aspect or everything. Do you know what I mean? There's so many elements that come into it, like first line soul, all of that stuff. And there's a lot of brain work there. But as a tradie, you put it in the ground, you know, like there's blokes that put their blood and sweat into the build, you know, like they might put tears in there as well if it's hard, but you know, like they put a lot of work in. And so I remember thinking to myself, like, geez, I want the credit. Like I want that credit, like because I put all this work in. And so, yeah, that was sort of what took me down the design area, and learning it basically from TAFE was fantastic. You know, there's only so much you can learn, as you know, like there's only so much you can learn out of the book. And like I would love to do that as well. I'd love to go and work for a design firm or a landscape architect, because there'd be little tricks and tips, and you know, it's when it becomes fluent, isn't it? You know, like they look at a space and they know straight away, or they can look at a plan and say, oh, you need some more there, or you need this there. And it's that fluency which I haven't quite honed yet. But yeah, I think I can do it. So I just keep working on them. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, no, it's... Yeah.
Are you charging as much as you want to be charging for designs yet, or are you still putting your prices up for it?
Nah, so I don't... I still make good money. Like I still make sure that I get paid for my time. But I'm definitely not... Like I know what some of them charge, and I'm not top... Like, you know, I know what the top dogs charge, and I know the service that they offer, and like I'm not charging that at all. Like absolutely not. But I don't think that I'm it's not that, like, I'm not looking for that type of client. Like I'm not looking for a client that's willing to pay $10,000 or $15,000 for a design and an approval and stuff like that. Like I'm not... There's those clients are out there, but those clients go to those people. They go, and like I might be one of those people one day, I don't know. But, you know, right now I'm doing it for people like you and me, you know, like I design family gardens, and I design people, like I'll go in and, you know, the budgets are 70,000 or 80,000. They're not 250,000. So, you know, like that's the way you learn how to structure it anyway. Like, have you done any design stuff, or?
A little bit, but yeah, I'm the same. I know exactly what you're saying. Like, and I've said it to, I can't remember who, someone in the previous episode, that there's customers for every designer, and there's a designer for every customer. So there's people who charge $50 for a design, and there's people who that's what they want to spend on their design. They just got no idea, and they just want something as basic as grass with a border of plants around the fence line. So there's someone for everyone.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So look, I mean, you structure like the pricing based off of the contract price pretty much. So like an architect, they'll say your contract value's 500K. So it's a specific percentage for that element of the design. So as you know, like it fluctuates heaps, like because of if you're doing a 250 grand garden, there's going to be heaps more components and elements and complexities than a 50 grand garden, you know, so it all comes part of the parcel. But look, I'm happy charging what I charge now, and like I would put my rates up if I was consistently doing it. But I haven't had anybody say no. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So I don't think it's too cheap, like, because, you know, I'm still making more money than what, like, if I were like, it's still making a really good hourly rate. And you know, I guess I can just punch them out. Do you know what I mean?
What sort of time frame does it take to do a design, so after they've called you and asked you to come out on site, you measure up on site, how long does it take to get the 3D out to them?
Yeah, so obviously they will vary. Normally the way that it goes, like, because I'll charge for the initial site meeting anyway, and then you structure it in a way where it's like, well, we'll charge you for that, and then it will get deducted off of the overall design price. So, you know, it sort of it gets the client out there, and, you know, you turn up and you look at the job, and you want to give them the time because they're paying for your time. So normally, like, you go out there for a few hours and then you come back and you develop the 2Ds. Like, if you were to sit and like smash them out, like, because I'll do it on the side, or I do it on a rain day. That's normally what I do. So I'll put a few hours in here and there, but, you know, anywhere, like for the 2D development, it could take anywhere between sort of 8 to 12 hours. And then the 3D component is normally, like, as I say, I send that out of house. So I'll send that off to the guy and he'll get that back to me within, you know, sort of 5 to 10 days, depending on how many elements are involved and stuff like that. So, you know, anywhere between a week or two, that's normally how we go with the clients. And that's just delivering the initial concept. So we deliver them the concept, and then, you know, they say, oh, we like this, we like that. And then you'll say, okay, that's fine. Those elements will need to go through the council, so we can actually develop the construction drawings for you and then carry them through the council, and get it all approved and everything like that. And then, as you know, we then go down the private certification route during the construction and all that type of stuff. So anywhere between, yeah, sort of 5 days and 15 days, depending on how complex it is.
Yep. And so how many staff do you have at the moment? And are they're all construction, I assume?
Correct. Yeah, I've only got a couple of blokes. It's only me and one guy at the minute. Yep. I've got another guy who I sort of float in and out of. I had a few blokes at the start of the year. I had 4 guys at the start of the year running 2 jobs, and I'd done it for about 3 months, and I thought, I don't want to do that. Like, I don't want to deal with the problems over there, and it's not worth the money. It's not worth the extra money for me to do that. Like, it was a balance of stress and money. And like, I'm quite particular with the way things are done. So rather than sort of like micromanaging people, I'm just like, well, I'll just do it myself. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's sort of the way, like, that's the way I've ran the business. Like, you know, you just heard, like, I'll start doing it. Like, if somebody says, do you want to do a design? I'll say, yeah, we'll do it, and I'll do it. You know, like, it's just the way, yeah, it's just the way I like it. You know, it's funny. Yep. Yeah. It's funny, like, because you don't often get small blokes on here, do you?
Yeah, I've had quite a few. Yeah, not a lot that have only 1 or 2, but that's, yeah. I reckon, I don't know what sort of percentage, but I would say at least 85% of all landscape companies would have no more than 3-4 staff. So,
100%. Yeah.
Because there's so many landscape companies, it's a crazy amount.
Yeah.
And I did just pluck that number out of the air, but it's a lot of companies are all small, same size as yours. And that's probably the balancing way to do it in terms of when you are trying to do everything yourself. You can't really get too big like that because you can't do everything yourself. You need to sort of delegate to someone. So
that's right.
Yeah, as long as you're aware of what you're doing and you know what your goals are, that's a good way to go. So you don't want to have plans of being a 10 crew company and then still be trying to do everything yourself.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, 100%. Look, I do find that, like, because I've got friends that's their sole purpose. They're just like, I want 10 blokes. And like, I remember going through those like emotions and being like, oh, maybe I should push, maybe I should grow, maybe I should get a loan and I should scale. And then I sort of stood back and I was like, I don't know if I want that right now. Like, I might want it in 10 years time. But I've always sort of thought like quality over quantity. Do you know what I mean? And like, I love seeing like all of the top guys, all of the top big businesses, they do some fantastic work, but they don't do fantastic work all the time. They pick up jobs because they have to pay bills, they have to pay wages. And for me, because I'm doing it, I want to do stuff that I want to do, and I want to build stuff that I want to build. And so, like, I've always thought, like, I'd rather do quality over, you know, just pumping out jobs. Like, you know, there are jobs where you have to do that. You know, everybody's got bills, everybody's got a mortgage. So there are times where you're quiet and you're like, you know, I will take on that 1 meter timber retainer wall, but like, you don't really want to do it, but you got to do it because, you know, because of all the other stuff. But like, I've always thought to myself, like, I'd rather be like, I guess that real boutique type thing where it's like, I'm your guy, I'll design it for you, and then we'll take you through the whole process as like an experience. Do you know what I mean? And so like right now, like I really haven't got any ambition to scale. Like I would love to have just 2 really good blokes and just keep it small like that. And we take on the jobs. Like I've been lucky enough to take on the jobs that I want. Like I won't take on jobs unless I'm not really interested. So like I like that. Like I like being able to take on those jobs and choose the type of work we do or the work I do. And so I think that scared me away from scaling because, you know, I know mates that have worked for the big companies and you see the pictures and you're like, oh, that looks hectic. Like, I bet that was really cool to build it. And they'd be like, oh, well, I put the stone in and that was it. Like they contracted the block work, you know, they contracted the paving, they contracted the pool fence, you know, so it's like, I don't know, like, I don't, like, I as I say, like, you might get to that point, but I kind of like doing everything in-house. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I'm exactly the same. Like I love doing everything, but I was talking to a builder today, and we were talking about a certain element of the project that we're working on. I'm trying to work out the guy who's the subcontractor who's going to do it. He was telling me I should add that to my repertoire, and I said to him, "Well, I already do too much. Like there's stuff that I should be getting subcontractors in for that we do ourselves, but yeah, that's the same thing. That's why I love landscaping, because it's so different and you get to do all those things. And then when you do a project, you can look at, you know, most of it. I did, you know, not me myself, but my team did all of that. So
yeah,
and that includes plants as well, because that's like I know you mentioned the plants before. That's one of the highlights of the job is when the plants come in and it just really sets it all off.
Yeah, that mate, it's 100%, isn't it? Like it's all of those elements that come together, isn't it? Because I think that's as you say, that's what's so special about the trade is that you're essentially a builder, aren't you? You're a builder of external spaces, and I think that's what people don't understand is that you do all of those things, whether you do it in-house or you subcontract it. Like there's small building mobs, like you know, there'd be a chippy builder, and he'll have 1 or 2 blokes and he's up on the roof, you know, putting all the roof trusses in, you know, like he's there doing it. But then you've got, you know, builders that are businessmen and they're just contracting it all out and making their margins. So yeah, it's really interesting like that. I think it's good that you can do it in-house, but you've got the choice to subcontract it as well. And obviously, as you know, like the larger the business, the shorter the time frames are. So there are times where you have to subcontract stuff out. Like I only subcontract a couple of things out. Like I subcontract basically finished concrete and face brick. Everything else is in-house. Like me and the guys would do it. It's not that like I could do finished concrete and face brick, but it's just not cost effective. And as you know, like a brickie will do it better than a landscaper. So that's what they do. So it's about, I guess, managing those things, isn't it? And giving the client the best outcome, really.
Yeah. With your building license, does that allow you, because I'm always interested to know the differences between the different states with their building license. So does yours allow you to build decks and pergolas and that sort of thing?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, well, as far as I'm concerned, yeah, I build them. So nah. So look, at TAFE, there was actually a deck and a building. There was actually a deck and a pergola unit. And as far as I'm concerned, yeah, structural landscaper here in New South Wales, you can build decks and you can build pergolas. So yeah, like I do a lot of my decks and pergolas. Like I've actually worked with chippies, and they say to me like, you know, we've looked at some of your work, and that's like pretty much like a chippy, you know. But it's just like I guess it's, you know, it's I don't know, like it's, I don't even know. Yeah, like I guess you're licensed to do it here. I hope so. Yeah. I love those liability. Yeah.
Yeah, the variety of of landscaping helps as well in terms of if you're doing decks, you might enjoy doing decks, but you're not doing them every day for a year. Like there might be a run on where you do 3 jobs in a row that have got a deck, but then you might not do one for a while. So it's good to do them every now and then. But yeah, you're going to get sick of doing the same thing over again.
Oh, mate, 100%. Because I know a lot of chippies, and if they don't go as a licensed builder, that's all they do, isn't it? Right? So they do pergolas and decks, and they'll timber fences and stuff. Like it'd be the same down there, and like they're guns. Like they're heaps fast. They can just smash them out, and they give a good product. So they can charge. They can. Like, it's so competitive. Do you know what I mean? So I won't quote decks directly. Like I've had a few where clients say, can you build a deck? And we'll just do that for them. But a lot of the time it's part of a bigger thing. So it's all handled in-house. Like I only do hardwood. I don't do composite decks. I don't know enough about composite decks. I message old mate from Number One Decks quite a lot, Darren. He's quite active on the social media, just asking him like random questions about that. And I said to him the other day, like, I'd like to come out for a week or so, just work for you blokes for nothing, just to see how you do it. Because all the board bending stuff they're doing is hectic. Like that stuff just looks mad. Like I'm sure you see it. And
I don't know whether they learnt that off. They might have come down to Victoria to do that with Hopkins Constructions. Possibly.
Oh yeah, they would have. Yeah. And is it Andrew that geezer's? And yeah, that's right. Yeah, he does. Yeah, he is geezer. Yeah, he does some really nice work too. He's actually scaled his business heaps, and over the past few years, like I think he, as far as I'm concerned, like it looked like he just went from a couple of jobs to like 15 jobs at once or something.
He does seem to have a lot. Yeah, he does seem to power through them as well. He's got some good guys working for him. Do you do work for other designers as well, or do you just do your own designs to build?
Yeah, no. So I have done a few jobs for just like a few other designers. I don't work directly with designers. Like in particular, I don't have one designer that I normally work with. I done a build at the start of this year for a guy called Ali Baidoun. He's from Studio Botanica, and he basically designed all the landscape and stuff like that, and we built that with him. I haven't worked with him since, so I think he liked the garden, but like, he hasn't had anything since. But I don't directly work with another, like a designer in particular. I actually I love to see design plans and stuff like that, but I've never really had that. Like the ones that I've received from designers, like certain design mobs, now they're like the bigger franchise type ones. Like the correspondence between like me and them is so hard. Like it's so hard to get a hold of them. Like they'll basically supply the plans to the client, and then they sort of just leave it, and they just say, well, he can install it. Like I had one the other week, and like it was like a steel like those Stratco steel pergolas. It was one of those. It was like a sitting area. It was only like 2.1 high or something. It was sort of like I could almost not hit my head on it, but you could easily touch it. Yeah. And he put like bougainvilleas all over it. And I said to the woman, I was like, well, like you're going to be sat here on your deck. It's near your pool, and you've got bougainvilleas up there with dirty great spikes on them. Like it just doesn't make sense, Then we ended up, I just said to her, why don't we try this plant? And we ended up going with, different type of climber. But yeah, no, I don't work directly with any designers. I'm probably not very, I don't know, I'm not really well known. Do you know what I mean? So like no designers in particular are like calling me for work, and they're saying, can you do this? Can you do that? So yeah, no, I don't directly work with any designers. I'd love to, because, they design all the time. So they do some really nice stuff, and they see things in a bit of a different perspective to what, a tradie does. And so it'd be good to actually get something on paper and then work with someone very closely that's passionate. Do you know what I mean? It's hard to, like there are a lot of people that just go out and do it as their job. But when you meet someone and you're like, oh, you actually have got a genuine passion for this, and you actually care. You come and place the plants out and all of those things, because it's their creation. We're just building it for them. But I don't work directly with any. I'd like to. This could be like an advertisement plug.
Yep. So where are you moving to?
So I'm moving up to the Central Coast. I'm moving to Nora Head. So it's just north of the entrance. I bought a house there at the start of the year with my partner, and we've just been doing a renovation on that. So we just finished the renovation, and yeah, deciding to move up there and take a bit of a slower approach, I guess. Like
So how far is that from where you are now?
It's only about an hour and a half, hour and a half without traffic.
Yeah.
So look, because I've had a few clients like that are doing developments and stuff, and they've said, "Are you still working in Sydney?" And like, I'll still work in Sydney for the larger contracts, but I won't be like promoting the business down here as much anymore. I'm booked out like until I don't know when, but I know all of my jobs in Sydney are booked out until like I'm pretty much finished here end of Feb. So I won't commute. Like I'll probably stay down here with the in-laws or something like that. Just whilst I'm working down here, and then I'll primarily do all of the jobs up on the Central Coast. So
what's your employee going to do?
Oh, he's moving up there. He's coming up there.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So he lives in Sydney at the moment, but I think he's going to commute for the first few months, and then I think he actually wants to relocate up there as well. He's another Pommy bloke, and I think he's lived in Sydney for a few years, but he's just said, I'm sort of getting to a point where I want to buy a house and all those types of things. And, you know, it's a bit of a game down here in Sydney. Like you've got to, you know, it's a long road if you want to buy a property down here. So I think he's a landscaper. Oh mate, yeah, that's right. We don't charge enough. That's why I'm doing all the designs, man. So I'll be moving up there. It's I'm excited. Like I'm excited to move up there, and it's a new challenge, like a new obviously a new challenge growing business, but like it's very different up there. Like obviously budgets are different, and like the normal designs that people are going for up there are the designs that like I actually want to like I really want to build. Like down here in the inner west, like a lot of it's formal gardens and federation houses, so you get that continuous formal look of like roses, buxus, and you know, all of those things, like very lineal and everything like that. And like my sort of design approach is I love designing tropical gardens and things with curves and like really soft things with like nice contrasting textures, like stone and big green leaves and all of that type of stuff. And so you get a lot more of those designs up there, and it, like, because it's the Central Coast, you know, everybody loves that Kyle and Cara, that you know, those two people that do the renovations. So everybody says, oh, let's have a look at their house, and they want to do the same or similar stuff. So, you know, a lot of like white render, spotted gum, battens, like, you know, 42 by 42, and that real coastal look with, you know, Kalala cladding from Eco Stone, or I think it's Eco Stone or Artisan Stone. So you get a lot of those types of builds, and that's actually quite cool. Like I really, really like that look. Like it's like, because you want to stand back and look at it and say, oh, that looks awesome. I do that with formal gardens, but formal gardens don't quite tick me off the same way. They like, I like building them, but I don't love it as much as like tropical looks. I just prefer it.
Yeah, I'm the same. Like I've got a tropical garden at my house at the moment, as much as you can for the in Geelong. One of the two favourite projects are probably both formal gardens, but yeah, I much prefer something that I would have at my own house. In terms of tools and equipment, do you have any big toys that you use for work, like an excavator or anything, or do you hire it all?
I'm actually I was actually looking at buying an excavator. I was actually looking yesterday, so I pretty much put all the financing stuff in, you know, like all set up. And then I actually bottled it because I was like, I'm so busy, like I don't even know if I'm thinking straight. So I was like ready to sign the document, and I was like, geez, I've got to just get this Christmas time out of the way, because like I don't think I'm making the right decision. So a lot of the time, like a lot of the time I'll hire it at the moment. Like I've always, like the way I've like sort of grown the business is like, if I need something, I'll buy it. So like I'll, you know, if I take on a job where, I don't know, like like a block wall or something. Like I remember a few years ago, I didn't have a cement mixer. So I was like, well, you know, there's 50 lineal meters of block wall at 600 high. Well, I'm going to need a cement mixer because I'm not going to mix it by hand. So, you know, I went and bought a cement mixer. So like I've actually, because I'm going into those bigger jobs now where I need a machine, I do actually want to start filtering that back into my own pocket, you know, because of the how cheap it is to finance them. It just makes sense to go out and buy one. Like I've gone down the path of like earthwork, like getting like you know, like contractors in to do it. And like I've always found, like, you know, you set benchmarks and stuff, and half the time like you turn up and like things aren't done and you're just like, that's just stupid. Like what? It's like the benchmark's there, or, you know, like they hit a pipe and then they call you up and, you know, there's bloody gas leaking everywhere, and, you know, like they just don't care. So like I've always just hired them. But I was actually thinking of buying one. Yeah, like I'm pretty close to buying one. I want to pick up a cat, I reckon.
Yeah. What size?
Probably, I think it's just a 1.7 ton, but they've got like a model that has got a bit of a heavier. It's got more of a, I don't know, like more of a lift on the arm. Like it's a bit heavier. I think it's a 301.7, and it's basically got more of a digging capacity than what, you know, your standard like 1.5s do. So I was thinking one of those, but I really want one. It's just justifying it. Do you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of time where it's just sat around, and, you know, yeah, you do only have to hire it out pretty much for a week to pay the finance in. But if you go for a few weeks where you don't need it, you know, it's one of those costs that you've got to make up.
Yeah. Well, I think if you build it into your, like what you charge per hour, like when you're working out your quotes, you can just about have anything as long as you're getting jobs with it. The way I was taught to work out your hourly rate is you add up all your expenses. So you would add your repayments for the machine into your expenses as well, and then divide it by 222, because that's how many days you can work in a year when you take out the weekends, public holidays, annual leave, and sick day. Yeah. So then that's your daily rate. So as long as you've got that built into there, then every job that you're doing is paying for it, whether you're using it or not. In saying that, I don't have a machine or anything, but that's because I'm useless at maintenance, so I'd end up having to hire one because I wouldn't look after it properly. But yeah, I would like one, but yeah, it's a bit of a big step to make.
Yeah, I mean, it is like, even like, because I haven't financed anything, you know, apart from getting a mortgage. Like I sway away from finance and stuff, because if at any point I want to be like, I'm just going away for 2 months, you know, like there's no drama. Like you don't have to pay something that's just sat there. So like I've always tried to not finance stuff. Like it's a common thing. Like I've met so many blokes here, like young blokes, and they'll start their business and they'll get 6 months worth of work, and then they'll finance like a 79 series. And, you know, like they're making good money, and then all of a sudden the work stops, and then, you know, they're back on wages, and then they're, you know, half of their wages is going on their car. So I've always been like, you only buy within your means. Like if you can't afford it, then you can't have it. Do you know what I mean? So I've always been scared of that. I've always thought to myself, like, do I want to tie myself up with something like that? Especially like, you know, it's a specialist piece of equipment, isn't it? So unless all of a sudden you decided to start taking on those jobs where you're like, right, we're actually going to, you know, use it to do the earthworks and then build all of the walls, and then you start taking on like retaining wall jobs specifically to get your money's worth out of it. You know, I think that's probably the only benefit, but I don't see myself doing that. You know, like as you probably do the same, like you use it for 3 days. And, you know, like when you talk to the people, you know, the sales staff, they're like, well, you'd use it for things that you wouldn't normally use it for. And I do stand back and I think, yeah, like, you know, if you've got a machine out the front and you've got a couple of ton of material to move, you would just chuck it in the bucket and fill up the wheelbarrows or something like that. But, you know, it's like, it's still sat there for 6 hours and it's not working. Do you know what I mean? So it's a big step. Yeah, it's a big step. Are you still on the tool? Like you still work on the tools? You still get into it?
Yeah. So I'm, well, I was going to say, interesting. I was going to say, when you mentioned how old you were before and you're on the tools, like I'm 38, well, I'm 39 in January. But a landscaper I know is 53 and he's still on the tools as well. So as long as your body can keep doing it and you're enjoying it, there's no point to get off just for the sake of it.
Nah, that's it. Yeah, like I had a client say to me the other day, like, because I said to her, I'm still on the tools, like that's what I do, and she was like, oh, you want to get off of them? And I was like, nah, like I like it, like I like being there, like it's a good crack, like you're there on site with your guys, or if you've got girls that work for you, and you have a laugh, like you can wear shorts, you can like swear, you can do what you want. Do you know what I mean? Like within reason. You can play the music you want, you're out there in the sun, like you can enjoy it. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's what it's about, isn't it? Right? Is that if like I'm a landscaper, I'm probably not by any means a businessman. If I was, I would structure it completely differently. And I know a lot of blokes who have started businesses and they are businessmen. They're not landscapers, and a lot of the time it doesn't necessarily work out, because they're good at crunching the numbers, but when it comes to actually doing it, they got no clue. And so I think that it's good. It's good to still be on the tools. Like I think like it's, some people, they see it as not a bad thing, but it's like, oh, you're still on the tools. Like, I'm surprised you're still on the tools. Like, you should be managing the business rather than being on the tools. But you play to your strengths, don't you? Like a lot of the time, it's sort of like for small mobs, it's a husband and wife setup, isn't it? The wife does all the bookwork, and then the bloke's out there building it. And like, I think maybe that might be the way I'd go. But yeah, I think it's awesome. Like, have you got a lot of guys that work for you, or?
I've got 4. So I've got 2 qualified, my 3rd year, and first year has been going for 2 weeks. But yeah, I absolutely love it. Like I'll do a cut, like when paving, I'll cut around a stormwater pipe and it'll be perfect, and I'll just get really pumped about it, thinking it must suck so much for people to not do something that they enjoy in their job, like ever. Like I used to work in a bank as well. Like there's nothing that there were good things there as well, but I find goals whatever I'm doing. So when I was at the bank, I'd have certain targets to try and meet. So, but yeah, some people just don't have that, or they just go to work. They don't go there to try and achieve anything. So I'm just grateful that I'm not like that at all.
Oh, 100%. Like, because I like obviously working in the bank and stuff as well. Like, it's heaps different than doing this. Like, you actually build something that is in someone's life. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you work in the bank, you're just helping the system turn over. That's all it is. Like, that's just your job, is to keep the system rolling. But whereas doing this, it's like you've actually made something out of nothing. Like, I love doing that. Like, when you get delivered a whole pile of materials, like fences. I like doing fences because there's enough brain work, but then there's enough like monotony as well, where you can just not think. And like, you get delivered the posts and the concrete and the palings and the rails and stuff, and then before you know it, you've got like a structure, and it's really satisfying to do that. It's funny that you say like with a good cut. Like I like doing cuts. I don't like. I hate cutting stone. I don't like cutting stone because of the dust. But my thing is like just getting stuff level. I love when stuff is level, and like I really like because I would be a chippy, right? If I'd be a chippy if you didn't have to hang doors, because I hate hanging doors. I've hung 1 or 2 doors. I can't stand hanging doors. And cutting different materials. Like I like cutting stone and timber and doing this and that. But when you got to cut metal and you got to cut like modular wood and all these different things, all these different blades, like I just get confused with that. But I like making things level and I guess straight. That's my thing, where I build a wall. Like I love laying bricks. Like I actually I might be a brickie. I quite like brickies, and brickies do all right. They make a good bit of money, and they get to work with their shirt off, don't they? Like, and
so you like carpentry, bricklaying, and plants. Maybe you could be a landscaper.
Landscaper, yeah, that's right. Yeah,
might work all right for you.
Yeah. We'll see how we go, so like I like making things straight. I like making things level and matching up. That's quite nice. Like I really enjoy set out. I enjoy the maths of set out and making things work and being like, oh, okay, that's going to match up with that. Like there's nothing more satisfying, when you set a height from one side to the other and people don't see it. And if you walk into a garden or you walk into somewhere, you can pick it straight away, can't you? If somebody's built it, you're like, that matches up with that. And it's all the time. Like I done it with another plan. It was a pool plan the other day. And like this datum point was like 300. It was just random. I was like, that datum point's really weird. And it was causing us a bit of grief. And I stood back and I looked at it and I was like, they've just set the datum off of the highest point over there for their cut. And then, you know, stuff like that satisfies me. Like you go and you buzz it and you're like, oh yeah, that's good. You know, it's all of those little things, isn't it, that you pick up.
Yeah. Yeah. So what's coming up next year for you? What are your plans with the business?
So yeah, I'm moving up to the Central Coast to obviously work up there. As I say, I'm booked out down here until like the back end of February, start of March. And then I'm sort of working on 6 or 7 jobs up there at the moment, which are design and builds. So I don't do pools. Like I'd like to eventually do pools, but the pool companies are like started building their pools and stuff up there and that at the moment. I've got a couple of them going through council, and so sort of just working on them really. I've got a few other bits and bobs I want to do. I've got to have a holiday, mate. Like you know, you've probably been much the same. Like it's like I was meant to have at least a month off after Christmas. I said to my partner, I was like, look, I'll have a month off in January and at least have a break. And then I had like 3 or 4 jobs get pushed back. So it pushed everything back to after January. And then 3 or 4 jobs come in. So it sort of filled up that whole gap. And then I was saying to her last night, I was like, well, what should we do? Because, you know, like I want to take time off, but I want to make sure you've got time off as well. And then I just said, I have to take 2 weeks off because if not, when am I going to take the time off? And, you know, that goes into the whole thing of like, geez, if I tell the client, are they going to turn around and say, oh, well, we'll go somewhere else? Do you know what I mean? And I think you get to a point where, you know, you're probably much the same. Like it's been just hectic over the last year that you're just like, I just got to say no. Like it's as simple as that. You've got to say no. I've got to take a break and that's it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. If someone said to me, you need to do it by this date or we'll go somewhere else. So no worries.
Yeah.
See you later.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. But then like you still got to just be like, nah, I just got to take time off. So yeah, look, mate, I think like a holiday is definitely on the cards, at least for a couple of weeks, just have a bit of a rest. But you know, I might like when I move up there, depending on how we go with the job, I'll probably look to pick up a couple of blokes. I'd like to pick up an apprentice.
Yeah.
I'd really like to do that and sort of share the craft. Like I'd like to do that. Like I like teaching people. But the guy who works for me now, he's not qualified, but he's good enough to be qualified. Do you know what I mean? He knows enough to be qualified. He just hasn't got the piece of paper. But I like sharing the information. I like sharing the knowledge. And he's one of those guys that he asks questions. Like he's similar to myself. He's like, well, why are we doing it like this? Why is it like that? You know, what type of timber is this? Why do we need that timber? And so it's good to share that knowledge, and it keeps you up to date as well, doesn't it? You know, like I'm sure like your apprentices, they would say stuff to you like, you know, why are we doing it like this? Why are we doing it like that? And you say, well, because of this, and this, and it actually tests your knowledge, and I think that's healthy.
Richard, you did mention you want to build pools, so I think you might need to get an excavator if you're going to start doing that. But
yeah, look, I've got to justify it. I've got to justify it. But I'd love to build pools. Yeah, like because I've got a building certificate for as well. So, like out of the pool builders units, like I think there's like 15 units or something. I've only got to do 2 units to get my pool builder's license. That's a bit of a laugh. Like, yeah, you just go and do those ones. Yeah, like you've already done one course. You just got to pay the money for the ticket. But I couldn't find anybody to do my practical with. Like I contacted about 7 pool companies, fiberglass pool companies, concrete pool companies, because you need to do both, like for your practical elements. And none of them got back to me. Not one. Not one of them got back to me. I got on the phone to like the SPARZA, which is like, you know, like the regulating body. Yep. And he said he was going to put me in touch with one of the fiberglass franchisee guys. And I said, oh, okay, cool. Like I'll get in contact with him, and couldn't get through. Never called me back, nothing. So it might be next year. See how we go.
You might be a bit precious about someone stepping on their turf.
Potentially, yeah. Like you don't know, like, because I get asked to build pools a lot. Like people will say to me, do you do pools? Like, because as you've seen, like they're in a lot of the designs that we do, but like I can't, I'm not licensed to build them. Like they look pretty straightforward to build. Like they look easy enough to build, especially the fiberglass ones. But as you know, it's all to engineer standard anyway. So as long as you follow the instructions, pretty much, it's pretty straightforward. But I'd like to eventually. We'll see how we go.
All right, I'll be following along. Thank you very much for coming on today. Really appreciate your time.
Yeah, mate, appreciate it. I do go on a bit, but it's just one question from you, and I'll talk for 5 minutes.
That's you're the perfect guest. That's what I'm after.
Perfect, mate. That's good. Look, I appreciate it. Like, I really appreciate you reaching out. Like, it's awesome. Like, it's I love the podcast. It's sick. Like, it's really good to actually hear, other business owners' perspectives, isn't it? It's nice to, like, I assume this is probably why you started it. It's nice to actually see that there are other people doing what you do, and as you know, as a business owner, sometimes you can feel alone, can't you? You're like, geez, like, am I the only person stupid enough to be doing this? But like, you talk to other business owners, and they've got the same problems. They've got the same problems as what you do, and I think it's something that you've always got to remember, that everybody's in the same boat, aren't they? And it's just the way that it goes. But now, mate, I appreciate it. It's good.
Are there any other podcasts to listen to, like business related?
I don't actually know. Like, I'm trying to think if there are any specific business ones. There's not any business ones. I'm not a massive podcast person. I don't sit and listen to heaps of podcasts. Like, I like listening to ones that are actually, like, sort of relevant to me. And so, like, I've listening to your ones, like, you hear what other people say, and you're like, oh yeah, that's cool, I'll try that. Or just sharing knowledge, just sharing sharing your wealth of knowledge for doing it for so long, and sharing it with someone else. Like, I think that's really probably that's why I listen to your ones, is because you hear other landscapers' perspectives and business owners' perspectives, so you learn stuff about how to make yourself better. Like, I think, like, for me, like, I think, like, I'd like to start doing more of the networking stuff, like, join the governing body and stuff like that, because I'm not part of any governing body here in New South Wales. So like, to network and learn from those people that do it better than we do, bigger business owners or whatever. Like, it would be good to learn from those people and pick their brains, because they've done it all, like, and it's just good to learn. It's just good to know from, especially older people that have done it more.
And it's good just to have contacts as well, and especially moving to a new place, that'll be good for you. And if there's designers who are part of the association, then it's a double bonus.
Yeah, mate, that's it. Yeah, I've had a couple of designers contact me from up there already, which is quite positive. They've asked me for, like, if I take on projects in that area and stuff like that, and you sort of put my name forward, which I'm quite looking forward to. But yeah, no, it's good. It is good to it's good to just talk to other people that have got the same problems. Do you know what I mean? It's just one of those things, and it's the reassurance as well, isn't it? Like, because sometimes there's certain things where you don't know, like, because I'm quite a young business, and, like, you don't know certain things, do you? And you want to talk about getting an apprentice on, so you talk to someone that's got an apprentice on, and then you say, right, how did you do it? Okay, I've done it like this. Fine, I'll try it like that. So that's all it is, isn't it? Just talking to people that know more than you.
Yeah. I wish I could talk all day. Yeah, but probably should cut it off there. So thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, mate. Take it easy.
No, that was awesome. Thanks very much for that. Yeah, honestly, I could talk all day, I reckon.
It's good, mate. It's so good. Like, it's really good to, like, look, yeah, you could just keep going on. It's nice to talk to someone else that's passionate, isn't it? It's like talking to, when you see two people talking together that are passionate about the same thing, I think that's when you get, like, really stimulating conversation. And yeah, it's awesome. Like, I really appreciate it.
Exactly like you said before about designers as well. They're so much better to work with when they actually care about what they're doing.
Yeah, 100%.
We get most of our stuff from designers. So
yeah,
that's,
mate, you do some awesome work. Like, it looks fantastic.
It's taken a while to get to it, but that was, like, where we are now is what my goal was to be. Yeah. So that's pretty satisfying to actually set a goal and we achieved it. But now, but now my goal is to make money, which we haven't been doing. So it'd be good if we could do that.
Well, good on you for sticking it out.
Yeah, couldn't do it much longer, but yeah, it's starting to turn. But yeah, I just haven't been charging enough, because when we get to these higher end projects, there's so much more stuff in there that you just I wasn't aware of. They're not. None of them are straightforward.
Yeah, there's Oh, mate, well, it's all a learning curve, isn't it? That's the way that it is.
And that's
it's
it.
good. What's your plan? Are you going to keep scaling that? Like, what's your goal? Or
No, where we are now is where I'm happy at. I'm just gonna sort of stay this size and try and really focus on making a profit and make as much money as possible, because it's ridiculous to be booked out for as long as we are and not be making massive money, because I should be, because the demand is there, so I just need to be charging more for it, because like no one ever says no to us really with my quotes. So but I'm too I'm not ruthless enough. Like I'm a landscaper as well, not a businessman. So when I get told I've got a job before I even quoted it, I don't quote high because I feel like too bad about doing it. And that happens a lot. We get the job before I've even quoted it.
Yeah.
And also if you think about how long you can do landscaping for, you can't do it till you're 75. Like you got to, you should be got to make some money before then. So yeah, I'm getting better at that. The hard thing was also when you booked out so far in advance, if I make a change to my prices now, it takes like 12 months before it comes into effect. And then by that time, you need to charge more again. So that's one of the traps of being booked too far out.
Yeah, I think that's the thing as well, is like, you must have saw that picture floating around of like you see the timber cost, obviously all the timber costs and everything's gone through the roof, hasn't it? But I remember seeing that picture floating around of that, like $1,000, and it was like huge pile of timber. And then it was the same time the following year. And like, there's like all of those things as well. You don't, like, because I didn't do it previously, whereas now, like, I'm putting clauses in the contract for, market fluctuation. And clients are like, well, what does that mean? And I'm like, well, if you buy like black butt, right? Like 135 black butt, I used to buy that for like $12 a meter. And I had a quote the other day, $18 a meter. And like I was buying it for 12 a meter this time last year. Like, and it's gone up that much. And like, I know people that are paying like 20 a meter for it. And you're like, how? Like, it's insane. And so, if you obviously price it and then you do it in 2-3 months time, it's going to change. Like, it has to, it's something like that you've got to consider. But then, like I going back to what you say, like, putting your rates up and then putting your rates up again. Like, I think that's something you look like I've looked at it every year, because I do it because I love it, but I'm doing it to make money. I'm not doing it for any other reason. Like if I had all the money in the world, I'd be on a beach. But, looking at it every year is something that you really need to do. Hey, like you need to stand back and say, right, like where can we charge more, and where can we actually pull back and make it more efficient? Like where can we make more money so that it covers the times where you're not making money? Like it's obviously because the more blokes you got, the more liabilities and everything that you got. So it's hard to, it's more analyzation and everything like that. But I definitely think that, it's something that you constantly reflecting, aren't you? You're constantly reflecting on profit. You're constantly reflecting on performance. And that's when you sort of got to put your business head on, haven't you? And you've got to screw it on and say like, okay, we need to do this, we need to do that to actually make some dollars.
Yeah, I often tell people that they should put their prices up, 10%. Every quote they do, just do your quote and then add 10% to it. Because you imagine, let's say you turn over, 400 grand a year. If you add 10% to that, you've got 40 grand extra. And if you think of every job that you do, let's say you do a 40 grand job, if you add 4 grand to that, the client's not going to say no because it's 44 instead of 40. It's not that much of a difference in that term, but then you put it over 12 months, take a little bit out of each job, there's 40 grand for you on top of what you were going to get anyway. So
that's right. It all adds up. I like doing the old, just under the 1,000 mark. You just put like 990. I always do that one. Every time I type that in, I'm like, 990. I'll just knock $10 off. It's like,
I've got borderline OCD where I can't do a quote that has sense in it. Like when it's divisible by the GSF, it's always got to be divisible by 11 without having sense.
100%, mate. Like I just normally I just round it up. Like I'll be like, 2,944 or whatever. Just 2,950. Is way easier to work out for your progress payments and stuff too.
But it has to be 2,970 because 2,950 is not divisible by 11. So.
It's not. It's not. Of course, because it does go down. Of course it does. Mate, that's it. It's good. Look, I think it's like you just got to give out what's real, haven't you? That's the way that it is. Like, you know, like I think that's the thing, especially with social media. It's so easy to paint yourself as something you're not. And
Yeah.
because like I've had that with clients, like I had a client call me the other day and they're like, oh, would you send one of your estimators out to look at the job? And I'm like, I am the estimator. Like there's only me. And, you know, like I've gone out to look at design jobs and they're like, oh, so, you know, who's your construction manager and stuff? And I'm like, it's me. Like, so, you know, like I paint it pretty clear, like on my bio on the website and stuff, I'll say like, I'll wear a tool belt. I've got my quote book. I'm doing the designs for you. So like, it's so easy to paint a picture of something that you're not on the social media. And like, they're like, I don't even know if there are people that do that, but, people can get misled. Clients can get misled by looking at your page, and because everybody posts their best work up. You know, I do. I only get like it's actually what I like doing is scrolling back. Like you scroll back to the original posts, and like I think my first ever one was a picture of like a pot or something like that. It was just something really basic, and I was like, oh, this pot looks sick. And then whereas now, like we're doing different stuff. So I always do it. Like I go back and I'll like comment on old people's like on other landscapers' first ever pictures and stuff. Like it makes me laugh, and it's nice to see like where they've come from, you know. And you start off doing that, and then you start to do, you know, like 5 years ago they were doing those jobs, now they're doing these jobs, and I think it's really beneficial for that. But it's easy to just make out like you're something that you're not. Mate, I'm sure you've had that like with other businesses like builders and stuff, and even other trades. Like you might contract something out and you think like, oh, I'll go with those guys because they present really well, like they look really professional and this and that, and then you get them in and they're just useless, and you're like, you couldn't organize a piss up in a brewery, do you know what I mean? But you get them in because you think they look good. And I think that's what it is like getting the balance between actually like what you look like and then the performance of your business, because it's not about what you look like. Like I know, you know, like brickies, for example, I know some brickies that are rough as guts, but they're just guns. And so, you like I've got a cracking brickie, he's top bloke, and you get him out on site and like he looks rough, and you know, he turns up and he's like, he doesn't smoke or anything, but you know, he's dressed in whatever he's dressed in and he's swearing and this and that, but he's a gun brickie. Like I said it to the clients, I'm like, look, that's just the way he is. Like he's just a gun brickie, so that's what you pay for. It's not about what you look like, especially on social media. Like it's hard to, I guess, get that, you know, get the honest side of it. Yeah.
We could have gone for an hour and a half easy if I can sort of dial it back. So,
easy, mate. Yeah, easy. I could keep going. Yeah, it's nice to talk to someone. Mate, it's nice. It is nice to talk to someone that's passionate, you know, and you know, it's you have to graft, like you have to work hard, and it's nice to. Yeah, it's good. Like it's good to see an old bloke doing it. That's what it's inspiring. It's inspiring. Nah. But mate, yeah, it's good. It's nice to talk to someone else. Like it's actually made me want to network more. Like it's made me want to meet more business owners, and you know, there's more people that you connect with, and some people you connect with more, some people you don't. You know, it's everybody's different, aren't they?
All right. Thank you very much, Richard. Really appreciate your time.
Yeah, mate. No dramas. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.